Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniature. And for those of you celebrating today, Merry Christmas. We've got a nice little Christmas present for myself here. It is not the most exciting of holiday seasons, unfortunately, for me. So what better way to celebrate than with one of my favorite things to build, unbox, and enjoy. And that is a new set of Kingdom Death survivors. These are the perfect survivors for Lantern Year 15, celebrating 15 years of Kingdom Death models. That is insane. I'm trying to remember back. I mean, obviously, I was a backer of the very first Kickstarter, at least for the board game, I should say, because there was the original one for the Berserker, if I remember correctly, Forsaker. And I know one of the very first kits I remember getting was the set with the Wet Nurse and the Twilight Knight, and I feel like there was something else in there, and I don't remember what. I'm trying to remember. One of my very first resins was probably the Barbarian, who's been redone in plastic since. Gosh, it's been a while, but one of the things about this is, besides the very cool illustration on the front, it is a big box. Just for reference, a lot of the pinup or Survivors or Echoes of Death, this is the first Survivors of Death, which I haven't opened yet, are probably about half that size, if that. And then the typical white box type models are even smaller. So you can see this is a pretty big box, and there's a reason for that, and I'm kind of excited about that. And if you want to see these, by all means, let me know in the description, comment, whatever section down below. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Nice and shiny interior box lid. I like saving these boxes. These nice, heavy, sturdy ones. So you can see here we have the typical breakdown of all four of the original survivors. There is some major scale creep going on with them, but that's okay. We're going to have fun with that. Once they're built, we'll grab the original and, was it the 10-year? I believe it was the 10-year. Inside the bag, we have a whole stack of gaming components. I'm not super interested in those at the moment because I don't think I'm going to get to them anytime soon. But I do appreciate the fact that we've got the typical postcards. I have a huge, I'm not joking, like stacks like this, 2 or 3 of them, of all the various postcards that I have acquired over the years. Maybe not 15 years, but definitely at least 10. Now, what's taking up all that extra space in the box, and this is kind of cool, I thought, are these big, fat art prints. These are all 8x12s. It is the same art. I'm trying to figure out. Oh, duh. I'm like Lantern and 5 because the Lantern is 10. Remember? I should have known that, but they do have all their names. Zachary, Lucy, Alistair, and Urza. Alistair's looking cool. So, that's what's taking up a ton of the space in the box. I don't want to spoil too much. I mean, obviously, you can kind of get a look at some of this stuff on the internet already, but I just want to go through. We do have a new location expansion to build some of the new fun stuff that is included here. We've got all of the innovations, stuff like that. I think this is the new lantern thing that they have mentioned. I'm not going to spoil too much, but just know that there's things in there worth taking a look at. All right, let's take a look at the actual models, because that's what I am most keen to see and build. What better way to spend Christmas, right? Building models. In fact, for my vacation so far, that is all I have done. Mostly big Chinese mechs and stuff, but built a few tabletop scale things as well. All right, 1, 2, 3. Okay, there is a 4th base container lid that we always get with the Kingdom Death models. I'm going to guess that's Zachary's because it looks a little bit more larger. If these are the typical 30 millimeter base, that looks probably it's going to be 32 millimeters. So not surprising there. Okay, all of the pieces are number coded, letter coded, however you want to describe that. So if you do happen to start pulling pieces off willy-nilly, at least you know which ones go with which. This doesn't look too bad. After building Hollow and Brave, which consisted of a ton of pieces, this is like, oh, this isn't that bad. And I guess that is one of the nice things about the scale creep of Kingdom Death, as the models have gotten larger, which I consider a plus. It's easier to work with. Some of those original tiny little pieces were kind of a pain, especially in resin. Lucy's got some majorly thin blades there, so you might want to be careful with those. Okay, I guess Zachary is going to really take the cake because his parts start down here and then continue on up and through this section of the sprue. So he has the quarter and then the whole bottom is his as well, with about 20 something pieces, it looks like. Still not too bad. And then Urza being our lone archer. I am honestly looking forward to this. This does not look too bad. Details are as sharp as ever, and I'm sure they're going to end up really big. So I'm kind of excited about that. Like I said, I don't mind, but it's kind of funny when you have the original monsters from the game that are now just going to be absolutely dwarfed in size. So that's going to be kind of amusing. We'll have to grab some of them if I can figure out where I put everybody. But in the meantime, let me get these built. We'll take a look at them. We'll take a look at the other survivors. We'll compare everybody and see just how big things have gotten. So, sit tight. And we're back with plenty of survivors. So, just a quick refresh for everybody because, at least, well, I've got them handy. Let's start with the original bunch. Alistair, Lucy, Urza, Zachary. Not bad. Painted them a while ago. And then we got the 10th anniversary, right? Same figures, new poses. And it's kind of interesting to me that we're kind of moving forward with their kind of set roles now. So we've got Alistair being the kind of quick and stabby one. We've got Lucy being the dual wielder of the bunch. I think I did a decent job on her. Urza's an interesting one because I didn't do a great job, but she came in a little bit differently, and then Zachary has always been the tank. I didn't like this pose. I still don't. So let's talk about the new stuff, right? Okay, first warning, nobody is completely fully glued because that's just me, and I want to make sure that I can get everything painted, but for the most part, other than really gluing them on the base, they're pretty much good to go. So, a couple of notes. There is a little rock right here. You can see he's blue tacked on the base that his sword is going to rest on. Those hands of his were the biggest frustration on Alistair. Everything else was pretty straightforward, to be honest. He was probably the simplest of the bunch, and you can see here I've got paint on my fingers. There's a little bit of a noticeable gap in there by his head. I'm going to have to stick some smudgy stuff in there to deal with that. I did go ahead and glue his cape on, which probably was not the best idea, but I don't really care. He's still my favorite, and I can guarantee he will be the first of the bunch that ends up painted. And it's just kind of funny seeing the progression. Maybe it'll be the size of Bone Eaters by the time we get to the 20th anniversary. Next up, Lucy. Lucy was an interesting one. She is probably glued the least of any of the figures, but also the most. So I don't have her head or cape attached, and it's kind of interesting, these rings, I didn't bother to glue them. I thought it'd be more fun to just let them jingle around on her blades there. That's where they're supposed to be. There's a tiny little notch in her left thigh. That's where the lantern's going to go. It's kind of hidden away there. We'll show you how things attach here. The arms are actually going to be attached to the cloak. which is why I wanted to wait on getting everything glued together. The contact points, dang it, I thought I did a decent job of cleaning it up, but I guess I didn't. Contact points are quite small inside of that cloak, so just be cognizant of that fact as you're trying to smash parts together. The cloak also does not actually sit on her shoulders. You can see they are bare. And then the head is just going to connect on top of everything and hold everything together. And her base is upside down as I shake the camera there. I think of all the figures, she's probably the most obvious kind of upgrade. I still really like this figure. I feel like I did a decent job on her, other than the weird smudged piece of plastic on her face. You can also see a noticeable difference in the size with her. Moving on to Urza, we see a switch up for her. She was probably the most confusing of the figures to put together. It's very much like a modern GW kind of jigsaw puzzle type figure. The legs are going to attach together, and then there are multiple pieces of the torso, but then you need to actually build up the cloak, which I didn't do a good job of. I'm going to have to fill that gap. And then the arms have a tiny little contact point inside of the cloak. That was not fun, trying to line everything up, much like Alistair's hands, but somehow we accomplished it. Yes, I know I need to clean it up. When you're eyeballing it, even at my age now, where I have to take my glasses off just to get a close-up view, and I still didn't catch every little detail, you know, when I got that 4x zoom on here, it is a lot more noticeable and obvious where the little imperfections are. But other than that, once I figured that out and built up the cloak and then the fur and then the head attaches at the end, it wasn't too bad. And obviously the base is one of the few that has any kind of outcropping sticking off of it there for her to pose on. And last but certainly not least, we've got Zachary. Zachary has gotten a major upgrade. Still can't be bothered to wear a helmet. Probably the most straightforward for the most part, except for his shield. Now, I don't have him fully glued together either. There's just a little contact point here. I mean, it's easy, but I want to be able to have access. The shield, I wasn't 100% sure how it all goes together. I've got some blue tack in there, but what happens, I think, is there's two little notches on this side of the shield that the handle is going to fit inside of. Also of note is he is the first figure that ends up on a 32mm base. We haven't seen those yet with Kingdom Death. I thought that was kind of interesting. Definitely a bit of an upgrade there. I mean, he didn't really fit on the base to begin with the last time around. This one just looks too dirty. But I gotta say, I am quite pleased with the actual models. Hopefully I will have an opportunity to mess with all the other goodies included. I've been kind of holding off while I wait for the Campaigns of Death stuff. I mean, obviously I know I can go bust out my Gambler's Chest since I started working on that and then never bothered to finish it, and I probably should. In fact, that's kind of like my new resolution for this year, is to actually kind of finish up. I was doing really good about that a couple years back. I know I posted a lot of the progress on this channel, in fact, that I got through my original box set. But it's time for more, isn't it? I gotta say, looking at these, it has really kind of sparked that flame again. It's been a while since I've finished any Kingdom Death models, so I am looking forward to getting some paint on these. Maybe I'll set aside a lot of the other projects I've got. Got Brave and Hollow here hanging out with them. Similar size, so that's good to see. But definitely I'm going to have my work cut out. So if you want to see more of that, hopefully 2025 will definitely be bringing some more of that to the forefront. And hopefully you guys will all be sticking around. Like I said, enjoy your holidays, and let's get those paint brushes going, right? With that said then, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.